Senator John Fetterman continues to go on his eventual why I left the left arc. On Monday, he was actually spotted hanging out in a place where conservatives love to go, and at one point was Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, according to Politico, the Pennsylvania lawmaker, was seen dining at the D.C. establishment Butterworth's, which apparently had become MAGA's favorite new restaurant, which is pretty funny. And he was hanging out with Matthew Boyle, the Washington bureau chief of Breitbart, the Breitbart network. Wow. Fetterman was later joined by Bannon, but, for good 20 minutes or so, according to Politico. Oh, okay. Well, no, fun. Now, a spokesperson for Fetterman did tell the Daily Beast that the senator's run-in with Bannon was just not planned. Oh, no, he just came up and he just kind of hung out for a few minutes, nothing wrong with that. I mean, he just came and hung out. What are you going to do? Unplanned. Sure. But, hey, what's really important there is that he did plan on hanging out with a Breitbart guy. Not a good look. Not a good look, folks. But, again, not surprising, considering it is John Fetterman. And a lot of people are speculating that he's going to pretty soon pull the old party switcheroo, which wouldn't surprise me at all, considering how earlier this year he met with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. He voted for things like the Laken Riley Act, which was really awful. In fact, the Laken Riley Act, which he did vote for, applies mandatory immigration detention solely on the basis of an arrest or charge. This entire bill, okay, is terrible. Why would you support something like this? I mean, this is nothing more than using personal tragedy to scapegoat all immigrants. But that's what they do. If you voted for this, like Fetterman did, it is a complete and utter violation of what you swore to uphold. Furthermore, Fetterman went after Democrats for supporting the protests against ICE in LA. Some of which, by the way, there was some violence. Yes, there was some property damage. There were some Waymos that were set on fire. They were, robot taxis. Okay. But anyway, Fetterman posted on X before deleting this, by the way. I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstration, and immigration, but this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. On Tuesday, Fetterman then told News Nation, quote, "When people are setting cars on fire and damaging buildings and going at members of law enforcement, that's not free speech. That's not protesting. That's just illegal behavior. And we can't ever be quiet, or we can't defend that." Now, AOC, of course, responded to that, saying, quote, "I think if Senator Fetterman or anybody else is concerned with law and order, we should be looking at one of the most law-breaking agencies, ICE, and administrations that we've seen in the United States. We also have a convicted felon in the White House." Yes, exactly. Look, here's the thing about that, right? The protests were largely peaceful until the cops cracked down. They started shooting tear gas at the crowd, inciting them. And let's be honest, too. Likely there were agitators in the crowd. Police agitators, okay? Members of law enforcement that will infiltrate crowds and try to get them to do illegal things. That happens. And when and if it does, then you get people like John Fetterman that are like, we can't defend that. No, the unruly crowd. Oh, no, we must have law and order. Look, Fetterman is a complete and total embarrassment. Not only has he turned his back on progressives, the progressive values, but he continues to try to legitimize the far right while doing this weird enlightened centrism arc which always ends up with you being on the right wing and taking the side of the right wing. Weird how that always seems to happen with these so-called centrists, right? And again, a lot of this happened after the stroke, which you could say maybe it changed his personality, or maybe it just revealed who he really was and that he was conning progressives the whole time. I don't know what the case really is on that. I'm not a mental health professional. That said, the guy's hanging out with the Breitbart guy, hanging out with Steve Bannon. I mean, if that doesn't show you who he would rather choose to spend his time with, instead of, I don't know, representing his voters, then I don't know what will. Maybe sooner or later, we'll finally get to see his official "Why I Left the Left" speech. And so, until that happens, he's going to be considered to be, Democrat. Well, you know what? I can't wait till he does, so that the right wing can finally have him and he can go where he belongs. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.